All right, today we're diving into a fascinating text that makes a pretty bold claim. It challenges the location of one of the world's most sacred sites, arguing that for thousands of years, we might have been looking at the wrong mountain.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if a place you thought you knew, a place that's a cornerstone of history and faith, was actually somewhere else entirely? That's the huge question at the very heart of what we're exploring today.
So let's break it down. On one side, you have the traditional Mount Zion in Jerusalem. It's a hill, really, just over 760 meters high, famous for being the stronghold King David conquered. But on the other side, this text points to Mount Hermon, a massive, multi-peaked giant that towers over 2,800 meters high. The difference in sheer scale is, well, it's enormous.
And this brings us right to the central claim, and it's a stunner, that the real biblical Mount Zion is actually Mount Hermon. The theory is that a smaller hill in Jerusalem, which David also called Zion, has been mistaken for the true holy mountain this entire time.
Okay, so how do you even begin to build a case like this? Well, it all starts by trying to prove a case of mistaken identity, and it uses Scripture itself as the primary evidence. The very first piece of the puzzle is about geography and language. This interpretation says the Bible itself consistently makes a distinction between the hill of Jerusalem and the mountain of Zion, suggesting they just can't be the same place. And check this out. This verse from Isaiah is used as a perfect example. It talks about Mount Zion and upon its hill. The key word there is and, which seems to imply two separate places, a great mountain and then a smaller hill associated with it. And the argument doesn't stop there. It then looks at the purpose of each location. According to this view, Jerusalem or Salem was where the temporary tabernacle was set up. But Zion was always meant to be God's permanent, true home. And yep, you guessed it, there's a verse they point to for this. Psalm 76 seems to draw a very clear line. The tabernacle is in Salem, but the dwelling place is in Zion. Two functions, and if you follow this logic, two different places. So once that distinction is made, the next step is to go back and reinterpret other key scriptures through this new lens. Let's dig into how the biblical evidence gets decoded. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The case is built on three main scriptural pillars. First, there's an alternate spelling, Sion, which is directly linked to Hermon. Second, a psalm connects the unique dew of Mount Hermon to the mountains of Zion. And third, the prophet Joel talks about deliverance happening in both Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, again suggesting they're two separate spots. Okay, but out of all the evidence, this verse from Deuteronomy is presented as the absolute smoking gun. Why? Because it seems to just come right out and say it. Mount Sion, that is Hermon. For proponents of this theory, that's not interpretation, it's a direct identification, plain and simple. So, if you accept this re-identification of Mount Zion, the implications are huge. This isn't just about moving a pin on a map, it's about recentering an entire cosmic and prophetic timeline around a new location. And according to this vision, Mount Hermon's importance spans all of time. It starts way back in the ancient past, where fallen angels called the Watchers are said to have first descended. It plays a key role in the life of Jesus, being the site of the Transfiguration. And it stretches all the way into the future, where a veil of unbelief will be destroyed, and the mountain will become the capital of a new kingdom on earth. To connect the Transfiguration to this spot, the text points directly to the Apostle Peter, who says the event happened on the Holy Mount. The argument here is simple. The Holy Mount must be referring to the majestic Mount Hermon, not a small hill in Jerusalem. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most dramatic part of this whole idea, a vision of the future where this re-identified Holy Mountain becomes the absolute center of a transformed world. Now, this is a truly wild concept. It describes a prophecy where the entire landscape of Israel is physically flattened, becoming a great plain, leaving only one mountain standing tall above everything else, Mount Hermon, the true Mount Zion. So what's life like in this new kingdom? Well, it's basically a utopia. It's a place lit by divine glory, not the sun, a place where everyone is righteous, there's no more pain or suffering, and everyone is divinely protected. In short, a complete and total renewal of everything. But how do you justify such a massive change? Well, the argument uses that famous parable of new wine into new wineskins. The idea is that a completely transformed, purified land needs a new, purified people to live in it. The old just won't work with the new.
And the scale of this proposed change is just staggering. Based on this particular reading of the prophet Isaiah, it's claimed that after a great tribulation, only a tenth, just 1/10 of the population will be left to inherit this new Holy Land. And really, this verse from Isaiah is used to tie it all together. It speaks of a Redeemer coming to Zion, which this text firmly identifies as Mount Hermon, to kick off a new era for a repentant and purified people.
So, when you step back, what you have here is an entire alternate vision of the past, present, and future, all built by re-examining sacred texts. It really leaves us with a huge question. What does this all reveal about the incredible power of interpretation to challenge history and, for some, to forge entirely new realities?